So my name is Andrei Nikolai Pamintuan. I'm currently a student at Central St. Martin's. I'm a master's in applied imagination in the creative industry student, which is, I'm essentially an MA researcher in the program. However, I still currently work with Pineapple Lab, which is part of Fringe Creatives. We're based in right now in Escolta at the First United Building. Prior to that, pre-pandemic, we were based in Poblacion, Makati, where we ran a physical space, and we also, we put up exhibitions. We had performances and also produced the Fringe Manila Arts Festival, which started in 2015. I am also from Dagupan City. I grew up in Dagupan City. Dagupan City is like this tiny, tiny, big little city in Pangasinan, in the fourth district of Pangasinan. Surrounded by the beaches of Bunuan. Very very vibrant in its in the different like cultures of people living there. There are Ilocanos, there are Pangasinenses. So the Dagupan was a melting pot of people from Dagupan. It was a center of commerce and trade, as well as you know uh, many of my classmates in my school called Mother Goose came from different towns and cities all over Pangasinan. So it was really a strategic. It is still a strategic location for for many people and businesses. And you can also see that when concerts or touring productions of shows would come to Dagupan, and people from all over Pangasinan would also go to Dagupan. It's one of those cities that was, I guess, strategic in terms of its location. It's in a delta, it was a port. It had like a huge train station. Dagupan as a creative city, I wouldn't necessarily call it a creative city just yet. Although there are some artists who came from Dagupan, like our national artist for scenic design, Salvador Bernal, for example, is from Dagupan City. But it's more so known for the Bangus Festival, to be quite honest, because that's one of its main, I guess, products and exports, no. So in terms of it being a creative city, I guess I wouldn't call it a creative city just yet, because there aren't a lot of um, opportunities or avenues for it to really be called a creative city. However, there are some galleries, there are some efforts in the past few years to really provide a platform for creatives to thrive and develop in their craft, no. And you can see that with my work with Anak Banwa, and with some of the works of artists from the Spot, which is a creative hub in Tondaligan Beach in Dagupan, where skaters, tattoo artists, muralists would come together and really try as much as possible to express themselves in whatever way they can, no. By taking over different walls in the city, also encouraging young artists to really go for their crafts.
Cool. Can you tell us about Anak Banwa? and your
Mm-hmm.
role. So about the project and about your role within the project.
Right. So Anak Banwa Arts Residency Project was commissioned by Congressman Toff de Venecia, who is one of the authors of the Creative Industries Bill. Uh, and he had asked me to design an arts residency program um, to that would get people or get artists from Manila to experience the culture of for Anakbanwa, the fourth district of Pangasinan. When we say the fourth district of Pangasinan, that's Dagupan City, that's Mangaldan, that's Manawag. What else? That is um, two other towns. I'll let you know later. Uh, and so I designed this entire residency program that um, that will expose artists from different parts of the country to really kind of immerse themselves in in the different industries and the different cultures that are thriving in the Gupan city and the rest of the fourth districts. So we had Corinne, we had Marco, and we had Raz. Corinne is from, I believe, Laguna. Raz from Bulacan, and Marco from Pasig. Come to Dagupan. So they were living there from for a, I think, I believe, 2 months, for 2 months, and we were able to take them to experience different parts of Pangasinan through exposure with artists, local artists and artisans. We took them to like um, uh, uh, the what was that, like the weaving. We exposed them to like weaving. We exposed them to traditional weaving. We exposed them to metal work, the pandays in Mangaldan. We also exposed them to the boat makers, right? Um, and also we took them to experience the food and the nightlife. The nightlife at that time, because I was still during the Delta strain, no, um, and really respond, right? Really respond to to the environment, right? Because usually and or the tendency for some art residencies is that artists go there, they create work, buy, they leave, right? But we really wanted them to also contribute, and so we wanted them to also give workshops to the local artists and the local communities. um, and so we conducted a 3-day workshop. Marco did like a sound installation workshop. Raz did a toy making workshop, and Korean did a cyanotype printing workshop, just to expose local artists, and not even artists. We had guests from, let's say, the Department of Education also participate to have them experience different forms of work that they may not have experienced before. Because sometimes, when you're in the province, you only know, you have a very, I guess, general, I wouldn't say limited, but like a general idea of what art making is, right? Whether it's just painting, performance, or craft making. But we really wanted to show them that there are other forms of arts that they can perhaps pursue in the future.
So it was both a combination of tourism. The goals of the project were both tourism, to
Mm-hmm.
increase. Could you tell us about that? To increase like the education in terms of the local creative industry and the stimulation of that artistic community. Would you
Right.
agree?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it definitely had that tourism aspect, because when we do bring in these artists who are based elsewhere, and they post on Instagram, or they tell their friends, or they bring their friends during the opening night, there is we give them tours, the Calamansians, the where else did we go? We went to uh, uh, like islands also within the city, and they become ambassadors, right? They become ambassadors of the district, right? It's sort of like, I guess, in a way, soft diplomacy, right? Like soft diplomacy on a regional level, right? I mean, that's what essentially Japan Foundation does, right? And the British Council, right? They bring in artists, or they work with Filipino artists because they want to promote their culture in a way. But then these artists learn about their culture, and so this whole amazing exchange of knowledge, of art practice, and also of promoting, right? And that's where the tourism part, um I believe, falls.
How do you think that the project was able to stimulate the creative economy, like the within the Dagupan
um
economy? So we're talking about the Dagupan.
right, so for the Gupan itself, I mean, to stimulate, or maybe trigger, we were able to attract interests, and people, to check out the exhibit from different parts of Pangasinan to go to Dagupan. And what that means, right? What that means, even in the smallest scale, is that when you go to Dagupan to check out an exhibit, you will probably have lunch at a local restaurant, right? You will probably go to the mall. And since we're in Dagupan, we might as well buy bangus at the palengke, right? Or buy talaba in Lucao. Like, in a small way, like, it kind of supports local industries as well. Or buy a basket from the palengke, which supports the weavers and the basket makers, right? So I guess, in a small way, that kind of helped, or at least um interest, because it brought foot traffic, right? And essentially, that's the role of and creativity, right? When we talk about festivals, when we talk about performances, when we talk about events, um that brings people in a certain spot, which then has a residual effect, right, in local businesses.
Would you say that what were the obstacles that you encountered when you were the obstacles in the building of this? Because this is maybe the first time that it's happened, right? To bring a really big
Right.
creative residence.
Hmm.
It's the first effort to kind of stimulate the creative economy within the Gupan. So what were the obstacles that you encountered in creating this, like, and like how was the response?
Locally, I think it was not an obstacle that is not negotiable, no. But obviously, because you're working with government, and you're working with different departments of government, you're working with, like, because it is a historical building, you're working with the Department of Education, and then you're working with the local government, right? And they want to do so many things with the venue, but, like, they have no idea what to do, right? um in a way, the obstacle is is for for us, right, as artists and creatives, to change their mindset, and for them to see the value of what we're doing, right? And I think that's one of the most important barriers that any arts, or creative endeavors, right, need to do, is to create the value, or to show them the value of what this project can do. And because, of course, it was commissioned by the office of Congressman of the Venetia, we did have support. We did have support in terms of, you know um funding, right? Which is very rare. Like, arts residencies are not funded, are rarely funded by the local government. So I think that was one of the obstacles that, we were able to overcome, because from the get go there was a collaboration already, between myself and the office of Congressman Toff de Venecia. And another obstacle I would say is um, for locals to feel that it's also for them, right? When we talk about arts, when we talk about creativity, there is still that sort of stigma that it's not for everyone, right? That it's not for everyone. And and this is what I'm kind of learning here in the UK, and previously from my research before coming to the UK, is that they came up with like a 20-year campaign, I believe, where the tagline is creativity for everyone, right? And that really means to hone and develop the creative industries and the creative sector, so that access is given to those who don't necessarily feel that they can, or that it's for them, so yon, I think for locals it's more like, oh, can we go there? Is it really open to the public? Is it for me? Like, what is that? What are you doing? What is an art residency? It's about, we're introducing a new concept in locally. So it was also about educating, and not in a way that we're saving them, or like, we have this like mentality of like, this is art. No, it was more like, this is art, and this is the art that we do, and you can also partake and participate in it.
Can you compare the experience of working in that city with your experience in working with Manila creatives?
So in Dagupan, while there was no it wasn't too territorial, because there weren't necessarily a lot of um a lot of artists or collectives that were doing something that we were doing. And so they were open and curious about it. Not that they weren't curious in Manila, but obviously in Manila, it's such a cutthroat city, right? When you think about it, that people tend to have an attitude of distance, and then you warm them up, right? Eventually. Um, so yeah, but I would say the similarities in terms of challenges is to also, yeah, to locally make sure that the community is involved, and that's what we tried to do with the poblacion. We involved the barangay. That's what we did with the city of Makati itself. We worked with the museum, the museum and cultural affairs office, to open collaborations between independent collectives and organizations like Pineapple Lab and Fringe, to work with local government. I think there's so much value in these collaborations, because government can provide the funds, can provide the goal, right, the hashtag, right, and the creatives will have these interventions and ideas to sort of bridge the gap between, what may be lacking or what may be needed, because they're sort of the frontliners when it comes to new and innovative ways, and to utilize creativity, so that it creates impact in neighborhoods and cities.
Great. Cool. So any other takeaways from the Gupan? Like, I mean, in terms of
Hmm.
manipulation of their industries or whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think my main takeaway is that Metro Manila has to be decentralized in terms of of being like the mecca of all arts and creativity. Obviously, there are cities as well like Cebu and Baguio that have already started doing that, but I think we need more cities and more government support to really hone and develop the creative industries. I mean, in the UK, at least up until 2019, the 10% of the GDP has been contributed by the creative industries, right? And Filipinos are creative. Filipinos are hired everywhere in the world, right? And we can do it. We can do it. We just need to develop it. We just need to provide opportunities for for artists and collectives who are already doing the work that they do, um, to be supported, so they can, so these businesses and design led or creative led enterprises can thrive and be more sustainable, because that actually in effect um trickles down to, the expansion of these companies, hiring more people, training more people, and eventually, um, um really fostering a creative environment.
And
Hmm.
what do you think are your takeaways there? Like, what are the needs specific to Dagupan that you think can be
Hmm.
improved, room for improvement? Because you mentioned that, you know, there's Baguio and there's Cebu, and they're already
Mm-mm.
established at creative cities. And you were able to work within a city that is just starting. So Dagupan is just
Mm.
starting as a city. So
Mm.
what do you think were the needs and needs that are that what needs to be nurtured? What were your observations within that experience, and like what would your takeaways be, like this is what's missing in the Dagupan and this is what we need?
I think what's missing in the Gupan are spaces for artists and creative led enterprises, right? I mean, for example, if you are renovating like a historic the PNR station, let's say they're renovating that, why not put up a gallery, right? And I think that's the plan also by Kongtap. I think they're putting up a gallery, or a museum, right? The Gupan has nice beaches, right? So why not have an open gallery where you can put like installations, right? Or at the same time, like create markets and fairs where we bring not only locals but also people from the regions to come to Pangasinan, and to come to Dagupan and see all of the products like baskets, or sculptures, and even food. I guess more opportunities and more events that would really showcase the existing creativity, and what else we can do in terms of innovating, I guess, creativity.